Hello and good evening. My name is Ricky Pack, and I am an assistant professor in the Department of Drama here at Syracuse University. On behalf of the Department of Drama, the College of Visual and Performing Arts, Office of Advancement, and my collaborators you see here on screen, we would like to welcome you all to tonight's virtual reading of Impact, Past, Present, Future.
But before we begin, we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the sad passing of Phil Brady, who is a theater artist in Syracuse, who held a special place in the hearts of many in the greater Syracuse community, especially the Syracuse theater community. So just wanted to take a moment there. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ruby. So if you've joined us for episode 1, some of the things we're going to cover here in the first few minutes might sound familiar, but it's important nonetheless, as a lot of people have worked hard behind the scenes to make all of this happen. So try to laugh at my recycled jokes if you can. We would like to thank Elisa DeCaney and the committee for the VPA Creative and Research Grant, Kate Hansen from the Syracuse Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement, Tracy Tajwal and Mike Granis from the VPA Office of Advancement, Ralph Zito from the Department of Drama, and Erica Blust from the VPA Office of Communication for all the hard work and support behind the scenes to make this reading and scholarship possible, including Melissa Moore, who is transcribing our show this evening.
Some housekeeping items before we begin. This evening's reading is best viewed in gallery view with 3 Zoom windows across, so you might want to stretch your screen to get that view right now. The reading itself will be about 35 to 40 minutes long, and then we will have about 15 to 20 minutes of Q&A after, which will be facilitated through the chat bar, probably about an hour or so for the whole evening.
To access that chat, click the chat icon on the bottom of your screen and go ahead and enter any questions or comments you might have there. Also, we love and miss live theater so much, and the chat bar is the closest thing our performers have to the audience reaction throughout the evening. So please feel free to drop responses to anything you hear tonight in the chat bar as we go along. Thoughtful words and emoticons are welcome, but please, no lawyer cat memes. We're all already tired of them.
Feel free to unwrap cough drops or candy whenever the heck you want. It's up to you if you want to silence your cell phones, and I have no idea where the restrooms or fire exits are, but hopefully you do since you're watching from your home or office. The only positive thing about Zoom Theater is that you're your own house manager, so you enforce whatever rules you want. So, is everyone set? I hope so, because I can't see you, but before we begin,
we would like to acknowledge, with respect, the Onondaga Nation, firekeepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University currently exists. We invite our audience to take a moment to use the link that I'm going to drop into the chat bar right now. There we go. Go ahead and if you open up that link, you can type in your zip code to do a search and see whose ancestral lands you currently reside on for a moment of acknowledgement and respect. And feel free to add the names of the nations that you find into the chat as well. And we'll just take a moment for that to happen.
Since around 2015, it has become the practice of some institutions, including SU, to make a land acknowledgement before the beginning of an activity or meeting of groups of people. But why do we do this?
Well, a pessimistic view would say that it's just a display, a platitude of political correctness. We believe it is important to take this moment to reflect on our ancestors' roles in the forced removal, stolen land, and genocide of this country's native people in order to create the nation that we live in and benefit from today, including this institution that we all love so much, Syracuse University.
But this isn't about laying guilt and blame. It's a starting point to learn and grow from our mistakes and wrongdoings so that we don't become doomed to repeat our history.
For instance, I grew up being taught about the Iroquois and a little bit about how our forefathers based our US system of government on the Iroquois Confederacy. It wasn't until I moved to Syracuse just over a year ago that I learned that the Iroquois are actually the Haudenosaunee, and that the term Iroquois loosely translates to mean, depending on which origin story we believe, the real snakes, the terrible men, or simply the murderers.
From the Onondaga Nation website.
The Haudenosaunee is translated to the people of the Longhouse, which is an alliance of Native nations united for hundreds of years by law, traditions, beliefs, and cultural values. The Haudenosaunee consists of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora nations.
Over 1,000 years ago, on the shores of Onondaga Lake, in present-day central New York, democracy was born.
Not only is the history of the Haudenosaunee implicitly tied to the founding of Syracuse University, as we learned last episode, this episode we're going to see how we as an institution continue to exploit their culture and heritage. We think it's important for us to own that and understand that, but more on that later.
For now, just a little bit about our process of creating this series of stage readings. I started teaching SU drama in the fall of 2019 as a tenure track assistant professor. One of my most important missions is to help recruit, retain, and advocate for students from underrepresented backgrounds in our program.
The desire to increase the diversity in the student population is a cornerstone value, not only within the drama department, but throughout the greater Syracuse University community as a whole.
However, a unique challenge for drama is that if we do not have a diverse population of students, it directly impacts our day-to-day curriculum.
If an esteemed professor in the Department of Mathematics has a class that does not reflect the diversity of our country, they are still able to teach calculus.
If our introduction to scene study class does not reflect the diversity of our
country, then we lose the ability to have students work on and see an all too important breadth of pieces by playwrights such as
Lynn Nottage,
Katori Hall,
Aditi Brennan Kapil,
Brandon Jacobs Jenkins,
Jeremy O'Harris,
and Susan Soonhee Stanton.
just to name a few.
Just as important, we lose the ability to tell stories that are not traditionally told to the rest of the greater Syracuse community because we don't have the appropriate student population from which to cast.
This is further complicated by the fact that many students from underrepresented backgrounds receive initial acceptances, but do not end up attending.
Why should a student from an underrepresented background come to a school that does not teach material pertinent to their stories, nor put up shows that represent them?
But how can we teach the material and put up the shows if we don't have the students to cast?
It's the classic dilemma of the chicken and the egg.
Impact Past, Present, Future was born out of a desire to try to address one aspect of this complex issue, accessibility. Our students pay a lot of money to receive an outstanding education, and that price tag can be an insurmountable barrier for many students from underrepresented backgrounds. Through the generosity of the College of Visual and Performing Arts Creative and Research Grant and the Syracuse Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement, we were able to put together a small but talented group of SU drama students and Syracuse community artists who spent the past year doing a deep dive into the history of Syracuse University as part of the celebration of SU's sesquicentennial 150th birthday.
Please keep in mind that we are all actors and not academic research scientists, but we assure you that we did our best to verify that all the information we are presenting before you this evening is true, with very little artistic license taken.
All this time and energy was focused for the purpose of creating a scholarship that would go towards incoming SU drama students from underrepresented backgrounds to help offset the cost of attending SU.
And we were happy to say that we were successful. Well, successful in establishing a scholarship. The Felix E. Cochrane Jr. Memorial Scholarship was established with a generous gift from the Gerald and Daphne Kramer Foundation Incorporation, facilitated by Lauren B. Kramer, class of 1994, chair of the BPA Council. Felix was a beloved associate professor of theater design and technology in the department from 2002 to 2019, and was a fierce advocate for our diverse students. He passed away just before I came to SU, so I regret not ever getting to meet him. Renee Yang, one of our current design students and a former student of Felix, recently found out about what we were doing with Impact and wanted to help out in any way possible. So she helped design the virtual backgrounds we are using today. Thank you, Renee.
Now, this is where y'all come in because we need to grow this scholarship.
The original idea was to inspire 150 people to donate $150 each in honor of SU's 150th birthday to start the scholarship fund.
Now, the scholarship has already been started. So if there are 150 people who are willing to donate $150 to help grow it, awesome.
But beyond that, we really want people to think about how they can make an impact right here, right now.
So that this scholarship sustains itself far into the future and continues to impact as many students as possible.
So whatever you're able to contribute, no donation is too small or too big.
To paraphrase the peacemaker as he explained to the Haudenosaunee when he was uniting the nations, one arrow can be broken, but many arrows can be powerful.
Right now we are at 26% of our goal, so we're right on track, but we need to keep up the momentum.
We want to hit 50% of our goal before we get to our next episode in March. So please share far and wide and encourage your friends, families, and enemies to contribute.
Impact Past, Present, Future is an exploration of the history of Syracuse University and an examination of our values as an institution.
Each episode spans 40 years of university history, with tonight's episode looking at 1910 through 1950.
It's a collage of short pieces based on true stories that we found that interested us, angered us, made us laugh, and made us cry.
We wanted to create work that both celebrates the university and compels us to do better.
Hope you enjoy the presentation.
If you do, please consider giving to the Felix E. Cochrane Jr. Memorial Scholarship.
If you don't like it, please consider giving to the Felix E. Cochrane Jr. Memorial Scholarship anyway.
So here we go. Previously on Impact, Past, Present, Future.
We covered the years 1870 to 1910.
We learned about the founding of SU and how it came at great cost to the Haudenosaunee, particularly the Onondaga Nation.
We learned that hazing was considered fun and often involved bags of seasoning.
How our school colors went from blue and pink to orange.
The importance of the Daily Orange as a voice for the students.
But most importantly, we learned that from the beginning, Syracuse University was founded on a belief that our hallowed grounds should be open for all people, regardless of race or gender.
And sometimes we have been successful with that.
And sometimes we have not.
But we learned about all sorts of people from diverse backgrounds that have been a part of our school's history from the beginning, like Sarah Logan, who graduated from the School of Medicine in 1876 and became one of the first African-American female doctors in the whole country.
Which also highlights the stories we can tell in the drama department versus the stories we can't because of the current composition of the student class.
Which brings us back to the importance of this scholarship.
So without further ado, Impact, Past, Present, Future, Episode 2.
You are ordered to protect your health.
Keep clean. Wash yourself thoroughly. Let there be no lurking places for germs.
Drink plenty of water and cleanse your internal machinery.
Fresh air! God's natural fresh air and sunshine will beat the germ. Keep your windows open at night.
The illness spread quickly, wiping people out with fever, chills, and body aches.
Plain food. Don't overload your stomach and clog your system with indigestible matter.
The Health Committee of the Chamber of Commerce urged voluntary quarantine.
Call the doctor. If you are sure you have it, don't try to fight it. Go to bed and call the doctor.
Hospital staffs were soon working around the clock. Bed space was a premium. At Krause Irving Hospital, more than 300 patients were packed into a ward meant to hold 200.
Don't worry. You can worry yourself sick if you let it prey on your mind. The spread of an epidemic is partially caused by a too vivid imagination.
As Syracuse residents woke up on the morning of Sunday, October 13th, 1918. They faced a day few in the city could have imagined. The Syracuse Herald said on its front page,
Syracuse will be a silent city. There is absolutely nothing to bring residents to the center of the city during the coming 24 hours. It will be a gasless, churchless, movieless, theaterless Sunday.
it is believed more than 900 people died in the city, mostly during September and October. The cause of this was the influenza epidemic of 1918, a worldwide catastrophe, occurring the same time as World War I was ending, which killed between 20 and 50 million people around the globe.
In the United States, the death toll from the illness was 675,000 people, more than had been killed during the Civil War, and it had been reported that 1 out of every 4 people had gotten sick. The virus struck young, otherwise healthy adults ages 18 to 45. There were no vaccines or drugs to treat the flu or to prevent its spread. In many cases, the virus spread to the victim's lungs, causing pneumonia.
In Syracuse, the epidemic hit harder than in many other upstate New York cities because, as Professor Teresa Lair told the Post-Standard in 2007,
Of a series of bad decisions fueled by patriotic fervor.
Nearing the end of World War I, many Syracusans wanted a stronger military presence in the city. From the University of Michigan Influenza Archive,
If we Syracusans are selfish enough to ask for a year-round camp here, we will have to put up with this condition all the time during the fall and winter.
thus spoke Dr. Dwight H. Murray of the city's Krauss-Irving Hospital on September 21st, 1918. Murray was not the only one exceedingly unconcerned with the sudden rise of influenza cases. Other hospital physicians simply chalked it up to
it's a combination of germs resulting from the mixing of soldiers and recruits from across the country.
It's the same old-fashioned grip that Syracuse residents have been dealing with for the past several decades.
From the New York Times, 1944, Professor Louis Backman of Uppsala University in Sweden states,
It is not impossible that sporadic epidemics of mysterious origin may have been started by bacteria from other planets, pushed to Earth by the propulsive power of the sun's rays.
From the Post-Standard, the epicenter was Camp Syracuse, a training camp for military personnel at the state fairgrounds in Gettys, where 12,000 soldiers were housed, many from Massachusetts, where the epidemic was already full-blown.
From the Spectrum Local News, Robert Searing of the Onondaga Historical Association.
Here in Syracuse, what really made us one of the epicenters in the Northeast was the fact that Camp Syracuse had changed over to recruit camp, and very early in September, troops shipped in from Boston and basically brought the influenza with them. The high point really seems to be in that first week of October. Mayor Stone shuts down all public gatherings, churches, and schools.
in a matter of 6 weeks, 8,000 to 9,000 deaths are recorded in the county, with 46 deaths as the highest in one day. In a population of roughly 171,000 people, that was around 5% of the population.
From Michael Leroy Oberg, Distinguished Professor of History at SUNY Geneseo.
How did the flu epidemic that hit the United States in 1918 affect the Onondaga Nation? In 1918, 418 Onondagas lived in the Nation territory, located a bit to the south of Syracuse, New York. Another 128 Oneidas also lived on the reservation. Between July 1st, 1918, and June 30th, 1920, 28 Onondagas and 11 Oneidas died.
Some of the relatively large number of Onondagas who died had lived long lives.
Joshua Pierce was in his mid-90s.
Mary Big Bear and Abner Printup both had been born in 1836.
Others were struck down in middle age.
9 of the Onondagas who died were under 30 years old.
Lavina Hill and Lena Jacobs both were around 5 years old.
David George and the baby Isaacs were just 1.
Bernice Jacobs, George Archie Logan, and Florence Tall Chief all were teenagers.
Nearly 10% of the people dying in a community of a bit more than 400 would have been felt acutely, especially with the deaths of so many young people who should have had so many more lives to live, years to live.
These deaths, however, did not draw the attention of local journalists or the legions of judgmental observers who criticized the Onondagas for their backwardness and continued embrace of paganism.
Each death in a community where there were no strangers would have been a blow, with waves of grief that must have swept through the small community from the very young to the very old.
Right now, there have been 608 deaths due to COVID in Onondaga County, with a population of over 450,000 people. That's a mortality rate of 0.14%.
Things are bad now, but can you imagine living through the flu epidemic of 1918?
Don't worry though, this episode isn't all about pestilence and plague. It also has some good old-fashioned SU violence.
More Salt Wars?
Not quite.
From the New York Times and Syracuse Post-Standard via Syracuse.com. Syracuse, New York, August 4th. Herbert William Faust is the son of wealthy parents of Ellisburg, Pennsylvania, and was one of the most popular men in Syracuse University.
During his college course, he had acquired about all the honor a college can give an undergraduate, and was a popular student.
Was how the Post-Standard described him. His list of extracurricular activities was long. He was Commodore of the University Navy, Resident of Civil Engineers, Vice President of the Senior Council, a member of Phi Delta Theta, the YMCA Cabinet, the Athletic Governing Board, Phi Kappa Alpha, Corpse and Coffin, Skull and Serpent, Senior Dinner Club. He also had organized the Senior Ball. As the end of the school year and commencement approached, Faust was 2 classes short of being able to graduate with his classmates. To make matters worse, his father wanted to attend the ceremonies. Faust heard that there might be a solution to his problem. He told the Post-Standard,
It has been the custom at the university to allow men who are back in a small amount of work to appear on commencement day in cap and gown. When it comes time to hand out the diplomas, these men are given dummies, just for the appearance of the thing.
Faust called on acting dean Shepard and told him his predicament and asked if he could receive the dummy diploma.
I will do what I can for you.
And from this conversation, I felt reasonably assured there would be no question about it.
A day before commencement, Faust called again to make sure everything was still approved, but this time he said he got a different response.
No.
That was all. He absolutely refused to talk.
For the popular student, it seemed like another slap in the face by the dean.
I understood the whole thing then. Dean Shepard had shown a marked dislike to me all through my college course and seemed bent upon my not obtaining a diploma.
Faust bade farewell to his disappointed father and told him he would remain in Syracuse to finish up his coursework, but he seethed with resentment over what had happened in June.
They were always soaking me. They humiliated me in the presence of my father and caused me many heartaches.
He made up his back work under Professor W.P. Graham, finishing it to the latter's satisfaction a few days ago. He quickly passed the 2 courses he needed. On August 2nd, 1910, Faust went to the registrar's office to pick up his diploma, but found only more trouble. It seemed that a Professor Paul Nugent had marked Faust incompetent in a class he had taken that spring. The student said he had passed that class, but the registrar said he would need a written statement from Nugent to prove that. Additionally, it is necessary for the college registrar to have certified records of the students to whom diplomas are granted. Professor Graham left for his vacation in Canada recently, and as Faust understands, Graham left word with Nugent that Faust's back work had been made up, but Professor Nugent refused to certify. After waiting 2 days, delaying his arrival in Canada for a job he had accepted, Faust wired to Professor Graham, who returned a message certifying him, so that this afternoon he called at the office of Dean Shepard and at last received his diploma. After getting the paper, Faust relieved himself of some vitriolic language about Syracuse University.
I have not been treated right. I have been smarting under the injustice done me. I have got it at last,
he told Shepard, showing the dean his diploma.
But there are no thanks due either to you or Professor Nugent. And just to show you how much I value this diploma of your cheap institution, I'm going to light my cigar with it.
Dean Shepherd laid aside his glasses.
I would advise you to attempt no such thing.
Calmly, the Pennsylvania student struck a match, set fire to the diploma, and proceeded to light his cigar. Then things happened. He touched the lit match to the sheepskin just as Shepherd punched Faust in the nose. Here is how Faust, who is a little fellow, described to newspapers the scene of a Syracuse University dean brawling with a student in his office.
No sooner had the sheepskin ignited than he hit me right on the nose, and I've got a mark there now. For 15 minutes, we mixed it all over the office. It was a pretty even fight, although I know I hit him. I don't know how often. When he had wrestled as far as the hall, I noticed that his nose was bleeding, and the blood had covered my shirt. The racket we kicked up brought a bunch of strangers into the hall. The dean yelled loudly for the police and called upon a couple spectators to the telephone, but the instrument was not used. I told Shepherd I didn't believe it would do either of us any good to bring the police in, and said that if he would ask me to leave quietly, I would do so.
When the melee was over, Faust announced that he should call at once to the home of Professor Nugent and thrash him. He recounted his story to the Post-Standard.
I told him about the same thing I had told the dean, and let him know that his singling me out a mark had not passed unnoticed. We went inside, and when he asked me to mention one instance in which he had treated me unfairly, I told him he had deliberately lied about me. Then it started all over again. We had it all over the room. Furniture was knocked down, and when we finally ended up on the front porch, I landed several good ones on him.
Nugent threatened to call the police, and Faust sat on the steps of the porch waiting for them to arrive. He decided to leave out of respect for Mrs. Nugent, who had witnessed the whole thing. Professor Nugent was downtown tonight with a black eye. Nugent, who would make about 3 of Faust physically, explained to the correspondent that
a window fell on my eye.
that night Faust departed Syracuse for Pennsylvania, where he would spend a few weeks before journeying to Canada. He left happy.
I'm sorry for it, but something had to happen, and I feel pretty well satisfied with the result. It was the sweetest revenge I have ever known.
He says he will frame the diploma for a den ornament. There's about half of it left. Herbert Faust would go on to become an engineer with the New York Central Railroad. He died in 1966 at the age of 79.
Were people just more violent back then, or what?
I don't know, but it wasn't all violence.
Yeah, there was also romance.
From BigFrog104.com. Kissing Bench in Syracuse voted one of the most romantic places to kiss around the world.
BigFrog104.com.
Actually, they were citing an article from the Condé Nast Traveler in February of 2014. Our very own Kissing Bench was named one of the top 15 most romantic places in the world to share a smooch, right along with other sites like Juliet's Balcony in Verona, the top of the Empire State Building in New York City, and the Eiffel Tower in Paris. The Senior Class Memorial Committee of 1912 wanted to give a unique gift to Syracuse University the year of graduation. In March of 1912, the committee decided upon a bench to be placed between the Hall of Languages and the Toller Administration Building, so people could sit and overlook all the fields that surrounded campus. More than 200 students from the graduating class paid a tax to aid the cost.
Our bench's big debut was on June 10th, when Chancellor James Day and the senior committee, along with several faculty members, took pictures in front of the bench, though no one sat on the bench in a single photo. So how did it become known as the Kissing Bench?
No one really knows how it began,
said Mary O'Brien, reference archivist at the E.S. Byrd Library.
It started somewhere and just evolved.
In the 1950s, co-eds would kiss on the bench and hope not to grow old as spinsters. The Syracuse University magazine of 2003 said that by the 1970s, a woman had to kiss on the bench to graduate and get married. Today's tradition is slightly different still. If you kiss your significant other on the bench, you'll marry and live together happily ever after in a fairy tale ending. There is a catch. If you sit on the bench alone, you will supposedly be alone for the rest of your life. Judy O'Rourke, currently the director at the Office of Undergraduate Studies, told the Student Voice magazine in 2002 her guess as to how the tradition began. I assume that somewhere along the line there was someone who got proposed to, and that's how the legend started.
We would like to offer a different origin story, a story that goes all the way back to the unveiling of the senior gift and the speech given by good old Chancellor J.R. Day from the Syracuse Herald, June 11th, 1912.
I am honored in accepting this memorial on behalf of the university. It's fine. It is substantial, appropriate, and suggestively located. I will notice there is simple distance between the two ends of this bench. Perhaps that is suggestive too. I wonder if I dare tell you what my mother told me about how the sexes related themselves in such things as this when she was a girl. I had just married. Roscoe, said she, before your father and I were married, he sat at one end of a 4-foot table, and I sat at the other end. Dear old Puritan saints. Mother, said I, things have improved since then. Anne and I sat nearer. For all that, as long as future classes come to the campus and sit on this bench, the class of 1912 will be remembered here.
The reporter goes on to write,
It is a very nice bench, and with good lines cut from pale bar granite. Somewhere in its foundation is entombed a sealed copper box containing the records of the class and a copy of the Daily Orange for the invading Martians to read 10,000 years hence.
From thetab.com, 2016.
For me, personally, the kissing bench represents hope. In today's age of Netflix and chill, Tinder, and random drunken hookups on the regular, the bench represents the power of old-fashioned true love. I find it inspiring and amazing that students today still believe in love, and the kissing bench serves as the perfect symbol of it on campus.
Chancellor Day. He may not have had a sense of humor, but it turns out that maybe he was a little bit of a romantic at heart.
His mom called him Roscoe.
Researching the beginning of this time period was very weird for us because honestly, it felt like there were so many parallels with our own experiences right now, especially with the great flu epidemic and COVID. But not only that, just as we are celebrating a milestone birthday with the sesquicentennial this year, they celebrated the 50th birthday, otherwise known as the Golden Jubilee.
That's right. And that was after all the suffering of World War I as well. I bet everyone was really ready for a major celebration.
You know they needed to start off the Roaring 20s with a bang.
From Celebrating Syracuse's 50th Anniversary by Dr. Pearlie Oakland Place, from the book The Golden Jubilee of Syracuse, 1870 through 1920.
The golden anniversary of Syracuse University will be observed in the commencement week of June 1920. This will be a memorable occasion. The sons and daughters of old Syracuse will gather in large numbers to honor their alma mater, to rejoice in her 50 years of history, and to pledge their faith in the years to come. In this season of rejoicing, the citizens of Syracuse will have a part, for the city is indeed fortunate to have in its midst a great university with its 4,000 students. The university has richly justified the hopes and prayers of the earnest men and women who are a part of its history. The completion of this half-century will be an event which all who love Syracuse will be glad to commemorate.
That sounds fine. Kind of tame, to be honest.
Very respectable. I wonder how it turned out.
Well, that was how it was described in the fall of 1919. Turned out to be very costume focused.
Please explain.
Grad Spree, the article Parade in the Alumni News, June through August 1920. A more perfect day could not have been found. In the clear blue sky overhead, an aeroplane circled, dropping thousands of orange-hued dodgers over the city and campus. The old oval blossomed with orange from the immense 50th birthday cake to the matching thousands with their paper hats, streamers, costumes, and floats.
Never has Syracuse seen such a parade. It was such a colorful spectacle and of such magnitude that it was almost impossible to remember the hundreds of individual features which helped make the glorious 50th a record breaker from every angle, in which 50 minutes gave expression to 50 wonderful years.
After the parade came the festivities around the birthday cake. More than 50 girls of the graduating class in white dresses and wearing blue and gold ribbons gave their color dance, and they were replaced by the same number of underclass co-eds in Grecian costumes and pastel shades, carrying baskets filled with flowers, strewing the oval with rose petals.
Then, the spirit of the university, atop the orange birthday cake, called on all to witness the historical pageant prepared by Boar's Head.
The vision was the three wise men who peered across the campus to discover the university, which the founders foresaw a half-century ago. Then came the founding, with the Indians starting a new colony, which was emblematic of the founding of the university.
Snake dances may be in disfavor among boards of trustees and faculties all over the country as being infantile and dignity-wrecking, but anyone who saw long lines of graduates winding up on the old oval on that perfect afternoon will never veto such a method of display of alumni jollity and the bubbling spirits of rejuvenated youth.
Wait, snake dances? What the heck is that?
Do they mean like Native American snake dances?
That sounds a little
Racist?
Oh, don't worry. It gets worse.
Another article from the Christian Advocate described that same moment as such. The Boar's Head Dramatic Society offered 5 tableaux, the second of which was called The Founding, featuring students dressed in Native American costume riding bareback around the cake.
What? I don't understand how that's appropriate at any level.
Oh, we're going to see where this all leads to, but for now, get ready for Alumni Cut-Ups from Journal, June 12, 1920.
Wild hilarity reigned on the hill Saturday afternoon during the orange.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt this right now to give a little bit of background on where this is heading. You see, there used to be an annual tradition sponsored by the university called Orange Indian Cut Up, except they didn't use the word Indian, which would have been bad enough. They used a derogatory slur for Indian instead, which we just don't want to voice.
And the year of the Golden Jubilee, they had a cut-up celebration to end all cut-up celebrations.
Wild hilarity reigned on the hill Saturday afternoon during the orange racist slur cut up, when war paint and feathers bedecking cowboys and Oriental.
Oof.
Okay, we get the picture, just skip to the end.
Lots of descriptions of people dressing up in other people's cultures, and here we go. Old grads have proved themselves, like their alma mater, young in spirit.
Yeah, I don't know if I would use young in spirit to describe their behavior.
But wait, it gets worse.
From the Daily Orange, January 2018.
The remains of a 16th century Onondaga Nation chief named Ogikaida Hoshinagata were found during the excavation of the old Syracuse University Women's Building in the late 1920s.
The startling discovery of Hoshinagata's remains became a symbol of indigenous heritage on campus grounds, a historical moment revealing the long-standing ties between the Onondaga Nation and SU. At least that's how the legend went.
The tale of Hoshinagata, whose name roughly translates to the Salt Warrior, was published in a 1931 edition of The Orange Peel, a satirical campus magazine, according to SU archives.
The Orange Peel writes,
For nearly 2 years, campus experts have been working quietly upon those textile fragments in order to reveal the portrait of an early Onondagan chief, painted by Hiberdus Klein, undoubtedly one of those intrepid Jesuits explorers first to visit the area.
statue of the Saltine Warrior currently stands in the southeast corner of Shaw Quadrangle next to the Schaefer Art Building.
But even though the story of the Salt Warrior's remains was later proven untrue, the legacy of the warrior is anything but.
The fictitious story went out to garner widespread attention across the university, in large part because of local news sources, including the Daily Orange, reporting the tale, according to SU archives. The rumor later spread across the student body, and 6 years after the original article was published in the Orange Peel, the university had a new mascot that lasted for almost 50 years, the Saltine Warrior.
That's longer than Otto the Orange has been around.
Don't worry, we'll spend more time on that in the next episode.
This is depressing. Was there anything positive that happened during these 40 years in regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
How about this? The story of Wilmeth Siddhat Singh.
From orangehoops.com and cuse.com.
Wilmeth Siddhat Singh was the first star African-American athlete at Syracuse University. He was a dominating player in both basketball and football, playing guard for basketball and quarterback in football. The basketball team went 40-13 during his career. He was lightning quick on both offense and defense. During his senior season, he led the team in scoring.
Siddhat Singh was born as William Webb, but his father died when he was a child. His mother, Pauline Webb, then married Dr. Samuel Siddhat Singh, who adopted Wilmeth and moved the family to Harlem. Siddhat Singh was an all-New York City basketball player at DeWitt Clinton High School in the Bronx. He helped the Governors to the Public School Athletic League PSAL championship in 1933-34. He came to the university on a basketball scholarship and excelled in the sport. After a football assistant coach spotted him in an intramural game, he was encouraged to join the Orange Grid Squad.
Siddhat Singh started his football career as a sophomore and played single wing halfback, a position similar to today's quarterback. He was the victim of segregation on a number of occasions. When SU played at Maryland and at the Naval Academy, the host schools refused to play Syracuse unless Siddhat Singh sat out. A season after he missed the game at Maryland, Siddhat Singh led SU to a 55-0 victory over the Terrapins at Archbold Stadium.
After college, a professional football career became an impossibility because the newly formed NFL had an unofficial ban on Black players. Instead, he returned to Harlem and starred on the best pro basketball team of the era, the Harlem Renaissance, or the Wrens.
Soon after the start of World War II, Siddhat Singh moved back to DC and became a policeman. He started a basketball team, the Bruins, which played on Sundays. Among the team's fans was Hall of Fame coach Red Auerbach of the Boston Celtics.
In 1943, Siddhat Singh joined the Army's new training program, the Tuskegee Airmen, which went on to become one of the most successful air units of World War II. However, Siddhat Singh never got the chance to fight with his fellow pilots.
On May 9th, 1943, Siddhat Singh was flying with C.I. Williams on a routine training mission over Lake Huron. His engine failed, and he had to decide whether to bail out or risk a crash landing. Siddhat Singh chose the former and parachuted into the frigid water. Williams circled until his fuel ran low, but Siddhat Singh never resurfaced. Tangled in the ropes of his parachute, Siddhat Singh drowned. He was 25 years old.
Siddhat Singh is buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
Syracuse University retired Siddhat Singh's jersey at a halftime of the Syracuse Providence game on February 26, 2005, number 19. He was the fifth player so honored, joining Dave Bing, Sherman Douglas, Vic Hansen, and Pearl Washington.
That's pretty amazing. I'd never heard of him before.
Well, his story brings us into the era of World War II.
Aw, man, not another war.
We all know how awful World War II was, but we want to share two positive stories that came out of this era at SU.
We're all familiar with the image of Rosie the Riveter. The vast deployment of men into the war left a void in the workforce that ended up being filled by women in many industries, and SU was no exception. From the Brooklyn Citizen, May 13th, 1939, Syracuse, New York. For the first time in the history of the Syracuse Daily Orange, the campus newspaper at Syracuse University, a co-ed has been elected editor-in-chief. The distinction goes to Miss Elizabeth C. Donnelly of Syracuse, who has been an honor student throughout her 3 years at the university.
We tried to find more information about Miss Donnelly, but there just wasn't much to be found due to lack of archival information.
But we did find more info about the third female editor of the DO.
From the Daily Orange, September 9th, 1943. Miss Witzel, elected Daily Orange editor, appoints managing editor Mary Gilmore, first co-ed chosen for position.
Patricia Witzel has been elected editor-in-chief of the Daily Orange. Dean M. Lyle Spencer of the School of Journalism, chairman of the publication's Electoral Board, announced recently. She is the third co-editor in the history of the paper and replaces Andrew O'Keefe, who was elected to the office last spring but was called by the Navy in July.
Mary Gilmore has been appointed to fill the office of managing editor, which was vacated by Nathaniel Wood when he entered the Army last May. Miss Gilmore formerly served as military editor and is the first co-ed to become managing editor of the Daily Orange.
Page 2, editorial opinion. New DO editor states policy.
With the new semester has come a new Daily Orange. Problems which have never before faced the administration, the students, the faculty, and this newspaper are presenting themselves now and will continue to do so. Thus, it is necessary and appropriate to state at this time the present and future editorial policy of the Daily Orange.
First and foremost, the Daily Orange is published for the students and administration of Syracuse University. It is their collective voice and will remain as such. Since a large portion of the campus population is military, the paper will continue to publish news for both as the Air Corps and ASTP groups.
The Daily Orange will take a definite stand on an issue only if it is believed that such a stand is to the advantage of either the students or the administration. There will be no criticism unless it is based upon fact. Such criticism will be fair and just.
The newspaper will raise its voice and speak forcefully if the situation requires attention. The editor-in-chief will consult both the senior and junior staff upon such issues. However, we believe that a silent and fence-straddling paper, editorially, is not worth its weight in printer's ink.
The Daily Orange will not ignore the state, national, or international importance. It is vital that the student population of the university, as well as others directly or indirectly connected with campus affairs, appreciate the seriousness of the months which lie ahead. It is realized that each day brings distinct changes.
The life of the college student, ideas, actions, situations, attitudes, problems, work, and the actual environment are changing constantly. Such differences must be met, defined, explained, and viewed objectively. There must be foresight, leadership, planning, and calm understanding. The Daily Orange will try to follow this pattern.
Any paper can be a better paper. Any student, a better student. Any university, a better university. It is this for which the Daily Orange will strive. Patricia A. Witzel, Editor-in-Chief.
In the midst of the Second World War, Chancellor William Tolly made a difficult decision. In doing so, he stood firm in the university's values of an institution founded in the interest of truth, which knows no sect, no sex, no color, no contrasts.
From the syracuse.edu website.
On December 7th, 1941, a Japanese fleet attacked the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor. More than 2,400 civilians and service members were killed. The attack drew the United States into World War II, drastically changing the everyday lives of Americans in the process. That was especially true for more than 100,000 American-born Japanese people from California, Oregon, and Washington State, who were involuntarily placed in internment camps under the orders of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. In late 1942, Tolly had received a letter from the Quaker-run charity American Friends Service Committee, asking if Syracuse University would be willing to accept American-born Japanese students, known as Nisei.
So I fired back a telegram without telling anybody. We'll take 100.
Tolly told the Post-Standard in 1983.
Then I thought, my God, what have I done?
Frank Watanabe was the first Japanese-American student to arrive at Syracuse University from an internment camp in Idaho. His parents were born in Japan and immigrated to the Seattle area. He was a journalism student who led the way for some 30 intern students to complete their education at Syracuse. Watanabe's and the other students' tuition was covered by religious organizations. Japanese American students arriving on campus had to receive security clearances from
The FBI,
Army,
Air Force,
The governor of New York,
and the mayor of Syracuse.
Despite the vigorous vetting, Tolley still worried about how the students would be received. He appealed to the editors of the student-run Daily Orange to hold off on reporting the students' arrival. The editors agreed and kept their word. Months later, in October 1943, the Syracuse Herald-Journal ran a story about the students' arrival at Syracuse. From the Syracuse Herald-Journal, October 1943, Japanese-American student praises square Syracusians.
the Nisei formed the link between the cultures of America and Japan. We are as American as anyone else. We have the same cultural background and like swing, ice cream, and baseball, as do all American young people. As a matter of fact, in most cases, the knowledge of the Nisei have concerning Japan is practically nil. I really appreciated the little things in everyday life when I got out of the camp. Just eating ice cream and walking on sidewalks came in the nature of a thrill.
The young man said that the Japanese in the internment camps were not rebellious, and in most cases are resigned to their status. He was enthusiastic concerning the relocation work being done by the churches, and said that wide distribution of the Nisei students throughout the country was contributing to better understanding between the Japanese Americans and other Americans.
After Pearl Harbor, our future was highly uncertain, and education and careers were interrupted. Now, practically all of us who were formerly attending college are back in school again. I think I am safe in speaking for the 20 or 25 Japanese American boys at Syracuse University when I say that we have encountered no prejudice. People have been really square with us.
So it sounds like things were pretty good for the Japanese Americans on campus.
Yeah, we couldn't really find much more in the way of describing their daily lives on campus.
well, except for this little announcement 5 months after their arrival. From the Syracuse Daily Orange, March 16th, 1944. Nisei to discuss campus attitudes. According to Geraldine Rosetsky, chairman of the meeting,
5 Japanese American students will be guest speakers at a meeting of the World Relations Club at 4 o'clock tomorrow in the Colonial Room of Chapel. Students will lead a discussion of Japanese American relationships and attitudes on campus. 25 Japanese from relocation centers are studying on campus at present. The assembly will emphasize housing problems and social conditions in an attempt for better understanding between Japanese Americans and students.
from the syracuse.edu website.
Syracuse University was pretty close to the only university in the country willing to accept Japanese American students who were being held in camps.
Said David Topham, professor emeritus of fine arts in 1990.
Chancellor Tolley took great pride in that. That was a symbol for how he valued human beings and human relationships. It remained consistent throughout his chancellorship. A person's color or political background or what others thought of them made no difference. If they were committed to learning, there were no reason to bar them from attending Syracuse University.
That's really great, but if things were really square for the Japanese American students at SU, why did Geraldine Rosetsky have to chair a meeting about Japanese American relationships and attitudes on campus, emphasizing housing problems and social conditions?
Wow, that's straight out of Aaron Sorkin's handbook. Did you order the code red?
Maybe this article from the New York Times, released 6 months after Geraldine's meeting, sheds some light on campus and societal attitudes towards the Japanese Americans during this era.
From the New York Times, September 24th, 1945. Syracuse, September 23rd. General Jonathan Mayhew Wainwright, speaking here today in Archibald Stadium of Syracuse University, compared the Japanese to savages. Voicing his doubts that the Japanese can be quickly educated to our ways of thinking, the general declared that
We would be short-sighted indeed if we believed that the occupation has given any evidence of sincere repentance on the part of either the Japanese leaders or the people they so shamelessly spurned to destruction by their lies and their lust for conquest.
In giving his opinion of the actual nature of the Japanese, General Wainwright said,
I believe that the Japanese spirit emerges from a smallness in their way of life, from the narrowness of outlook which has never comprehended modern tools which have been put in their hands. Although their soldiers fight with guns and grenades and artillery, their thoughts are back in the days of spears and pikes and flaming arrows. Those mass bonsai charges, the kamikaze suicides are not the tactics of men who've been brought by orderly process to live confidently in the ways of the 20th century.
the occasion of General Wainwright's speech was the conferring on him by Syracuse University of the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws, and presented by Chancellor William Pearson Tolley.
So he really got up there in public and said these awful things about a whole race of people, and Chancellor Tolley gave him an honorary degree?
Yep.
So much for the SU value of accepting all people regardless of their race, ethnicity, or national origin.
But see, that's the thing. I don't know if we can dismiss all the good that a person or institution does because of all the bad they do.
The good of saving 25 Japanese American lives from internment camps get wiped out because we gave an honorary degree to a racist.
If we learned one thing from episode 1, it's that no one person is entirely good or bad.
Like George Washington, founding father, aka Conaticorius, he destroys the town, as the Haudenosaunee knew him.
Or Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who is by all means considered to be one of the best presidents in our history, but also signed Executive Order 9066, putting the Japanese Americans in internment camps to begin with.
One thing is for certain, though. We need to give voice to more of these stories, good and bad.
And the way the Department of Drama looks right now, we can't.
We couldn't accurately and inclusively tell the story of Frank Watanabe.
Or Wilmeth Sadat Singh.
Or the Syracuse 8.
Or Ernie Davis.
Or the 1969 protests.
Or Priscilla Tyree Williams.
Without having a more diverse and representative student population in the Department of Drama.
Any paper can be a better paper. Any student, a better student. Any university, a better university.
We can't tell those stories right now.
But we need to.
Because we need to make an impact.
We need to make an impact.
Make an impact.
Impact.
Great, let's have all the artists come back on screen. And as our little curtain call, we just wanted to do a quick little introduction of everyone who collaborated today to present episode 2. So we want to start with Anju.
Hi, I'm Anju. I just graduated from Syracuse in May 2020, and I was a musical theater student.
Hi, I'm Corinne Ferrer. I'm a sophomore acting major.
Hi, I'm Candace Takayama, and I'm a senior musical theater major.
Hi, I'm Alex Keene, and I'm a senior musical theater major.
Hi, I'm Whitney Tenny-Pack, and I am an instructor and a community theater artist.
Hello, I'm Alyssa Otoski-Kime, and I am a local community artist.
Great, job well done once again. And we just wanted to make sure that everyone remembers that episode 3 will be coming online on Monday, March 8th, 2021, again at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be covering 1951 to 1990. And so we just wanted to be able to offer a few minutes here at the end. If anyone had any thoughts, reactions, or questions to our performance this evening. If you have any questions or thoughts or reactions for our attendees, go ahead and put it into the chat. If you want to know a little bit about any, we would love to, I'm curious, or we're curious about learning a little bit about what what resonated for you, what stuck out for you specifically in this episode. The story of Tali and taking him into Japanese is really striking. Seems that Tali struggled with that decision. Matt Smith wants to know, what was the research process like? Does anybody want to take that? Go, Whitney. And then Alex.
So the research process has been long. We started this way back in March or April of 2020. And we really just kind of started by going on what we called deep dives and getting really into different rabbit holes of information and just compiling what we thought was really interesting. And did that for months and really, to be honest, found the Daily Orange archives to be like a hugely useful source. Syracuse.com has like some really great old archival sources. So we just kind of did a ton of deep dives, and then we came together basically weekly, shared what we found, had these great conversations, got kind of really nerdy about a lot of this stuff. And then started to kind of hone in on how to shape each episode into how we would tell this history. And that's how we really found this theme of the stories we can and can't tell being the way in to the sort of framework for the entire series. So yeah, I'm sure I'm leaving lots out. So,
Alex, do you want to add anything about your experience as a student?
Yeah, I mean, you covered a lot of it, Whitney. We were led for most of the process by our curiosity. We did not have a form when we started this. We were just going into topics. Like we looked up like haunted buildings in Syracuse and like legends of Syracuse, just whatever we wanted. We were like ghost story, like just random stuff, just to see what was interesting. And the stuff that we included here were our favorites of certain time. Like this is the time period of 1910. But we found stories that we would be able to tell as the group of researchers that we had, and sort of lighthearted. We wanted to like bridge the gap between lighthearted stories and then people that we didn't know about, that we think we should know about, that we're confused the university doesn't broadcast more, like Wilmot Suddet Singh. We had no idea who he was. Sarah Logan in the last episode. Yeah, it's been a lot of curiosity, motivation.
Okay, great. Any other questions from our attendees, our guests this evening? Great. I think just one last thing that I'll just comment on is that, I'm very grateful for my collaborators and fellow artists here for being so willing to take these deep dives into rabbit holes and find all these stories of so many different people and events, some well-known and some less well-known. And I think it just kind of illustrates, just how much history and how many stories are here at Syracuse University. It's really just the tip of the iceberg. This time era especially was really hard for us to narrow down what stories we wanted to tell, just because there's so many great stories. And episodes 3 and 4 are also going to be very challenging as well, because now it's coming more and more closer to our contemporary time, so we have more access to information. And I think again it just highlights how I don't know how to say it, how important the contributions of people from diverse backgrounds has always been here at Syracuse University, and how much more harder we have to work to make sure that those stories get told, and that they are told accurately and that they're told inclusively. And that makes this scholarship so important. It's just one little scholarship, and we're hoping to make it grow. So if you please can, if you're in the position to be able to contribute, please do so. If you're in the position to be able to share with your network, to ask friends, families, and enemies, as we said in the beginning, to contribute, it would be so greatly appreciated. Great. Well, if there's someone, thank you for shedding light on some fascinating stories. Excellent. Seems like we're always taking one step forward, one step back. And I think that's an important discovery for me in this whole process, is that, again, as we talked about at the end, it is one step forward and it's one step back, right? Or two steps back. And then we don't ever want to judge, the wrongs that are done. But we also need to own up to it, and we also need to acknowledge that they happened. And we need to be in a position now to try and make up for as many of those wrongs as we possibly can, and not just gloss over the dark parts of our history, and to acknowledge them and to bring them to light. Because if we don't talk about the things that we get wrong in our histories, then we'll never be able to get them right in our present. So thank you, everyone. And yes, and thank you so much, Mike. In the chat again is the link again directly to the Felix Cochrane Jr. Memorial Scholarship. So please feel free to copy and paste that all over your social medias. And thank you again so much for giving up a little part of your Monday night to join us. And I hope that you do join us again for episode 3, Monday, March 8th. Same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say in the day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.